Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of our entitled Parents. In today's episode, entitled Mother Steals Friend's Pet Fish and Kills It. My father won't let me dye my hair, but lets my siblings. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Entitled Mother Steals Friend's Pet Fish and Kills It. First and foremost, this isn't my story, it is my cousin's. For context, my grandmother had my aunt, E.M., from a previous relationship and later had her other two children, my mother and my cool aunt, in a later marriage to my grandfather, who she is still with to this day. From what I've been told, there wasn't too much of a difference between the sisters. However, my mother and cool aunt had both my grandparents' family's support throughout their lives, while E.M. had neither, as her father had abandoned her. When she graduated, she moved to the US to live out her life away from her family, and cool aunt regularly visited her as they were closer. E.M. later had two sons and coddled them, maybe a bit too much. They turned out great, by the way, and are awesome people. This story happened in 2003 and was told to me by the younger cousin, who we'll call YC. My aunt was really invested in making sure that her sons had a good time wherever they went, and that they always got what they wanted. It was summer, and where they lived, a fete would come around each summer with fun games and rides. I'm told it was stereotypical carnival stuff, but the main point was it had a game where the top prize was a goldfish. YC was 7 at the time and really wanted to go, as he'd never been before, and managed to convince E.M. that he could tag along with his older brother and his group of friends, as his nice friend, NF, would be there. He was also the younger brother of one of the friends. He went to the fair, and the boys all looked after each other, but eventually the older boys wanted to go on the roller coasters, and as NF and YC were too small, they couldn't participate. They called up E.M., and she looked after them. After some time, they came to a game where you'd fish with magnets for different fish, and if you got one of the sparkly gold ones, you would get the goldfish in the bag. Now NF won the goldfish, and YC was happy for him, and they went on with the games. At the end of the night, NF's mother came to pick up her sons, but E.M. didn't let her. She asked why, and E.M. demanded that it be given to YC, as YC had began asking if he could get a pet fish through the night, and that it was her money he used to play the game, so the prize was hers. But NF's mother wasn't having any of it, and took away her sons with the fish. And I wish the story ended here. After a week, E.M. and NF's mother had made up, and NF invited YC to play. When YC was picked up, she claimed he had left something behind and ran up the stairs. When she came back down, her hands were wet. When asked about it, she claimed she had gone to the bathroom, and they left. When YC and E.M. got in the car, she took out of her coat the fish, in a plastic Ziploc bag. YC didn't realize what was going on at the time and thought that E.M. had gotten him a fish. He was ecstatic, and when he got home, he put the fish in a cereal bowl, named it Goldie, and called NF on the house phone screaming that he had gotten a fish. When NF picked up, he was crying, and when YC asked about it, he said it was because his fish had gone missing. Note, they were 7 and 6, so neither of them put the dots together yet. Eventually NF must have told his mother about YC's fish, because she came storming in a rage to E.M.'s house the next day with NF in tow, and demanded the fish be given back. I don't know what they said, but apparently they argued for a good 20 minutes before E.M. bolted to the kitchen, where Goldie was still in the cereal bowl, dashed with Goldie to the bathroom, and whilst everyone ran after her, flushed it down the toilet, with both YC and NF crying behind her and NF's mother just in shock. E.M. then said something around that if YC couldn't have Goldie, no one could. NF's mother then slapped E.M. and dragged NF away, while he was in hysterics. YC was then sent to his room, and his brother, who was 13 at the time, gave him a little lesson about death. Neither of them spoke to her for 2 weeks, and now each year they mourn Goldie's passing to the displeasure of E.M. I learned about this from my older cousin, who told cool aunt about it on her next visit, which happened to be in the silent period, after which she told it to me. To this day I can't look my aunt in the eye, and she has made her family officially fish-free. My father won't let me dye my hair, but lets my siblings. Ever since I was 8, I've wanted to cut my hair, dye it, and just change it in general. My parents, however, are extremely strict and never let me do anything more than trim my hair. They let me cut it when I was 5 and 9, but since then I haven't cut it or changed anything about it. I'm 19 years old now, and my hair has taken me 10 years to grow to my lower back. I'm the oldest of 6 kids, and just recently graduated high school. Once my siblings were young, I've been kind of like a third parent. My parents asking for money for the gas, electricity, water, etc. I've also always been the one that my parents use as a therapist, babysitter, and would oftentimes take the money I'd earn from beating hats, babysitting, or even just money I was gifted. When the stimulus checks came out, I had a claim to my money, but they wouldn't give it to me. Then my nation gave out checks to its people, and when asked, I had to give my money over. I thought they'd use the money for the house or things like that, but they used the money on a trip to Florida with our family. Growing up, my parents were extremely strict. In school, my father hated if I brought home a grade less than a 95%. I'd usually get in some kind of trouble. My siblings? Same thing. I nearly failed 5th grade and was grounded for months. I wasn't even allowed to have electronics like a DS, iPod, or phone. My screen time was always limited to Mahjong and Solitaire on our family Mac computer. That means no social media, no real way of contacting people. I wasn't even able to have an email until I was 9, and even then they had to have every single password I had. My siblings were able to have more freedom online than I did. They get electronics given to them, where I had to actually pay for my first 3DS. I was given my first phone with service when I was 17, because they couldn't get a hold of me after a football game. Again, they needed the password and I couldn't keep anything private. My siblings were again not given the same rules. It makes me absolutely angry how my parents have this awful double standard. My siblings always get their hair cut and get to change their style. I was told to keep mine long for my senior pictures because my family is native, and they wanted pictures in my regalia. For those who don't know, a regalia is a native ensemble for our ceremonies, powwows, and other such things. I was gifted the regalia for a graduation present. My family wanted pictures, but it hasn't happened yet. I've asked my parents to let me dye it or cut it since then, but they don't want my unnatural hair in my regalia photos, which I understood. From my understanding, my siblings had the same rules as me, and wouldn't be able to cut it after a certain point and would have to grow it out like I did. That is until today. My sibling, E16, sent a picture of him and my sister, K14, getting their hair cut and dyed. It was cut to their shoulders and dyed blue and purple. Instantly I felt jealous. Why were my siblings? I asked my father why he allowed them cutting their hair, but I never could. Me, why could you let E cut their hair if I couldn't until my senior pictures? F, they're younger than you, and they had asked us to do this for them as a birthday gift. You could have too if you had just asked us. Me, I've asked you and Mom several times over the past several years and you always told me to wait until my senior pictures were done. And you still won't let me. F, we won't let you because we are waiting to get your regalia photos done. Me, it doesn't seem like that is going to happen. I've been waiting 10 years to cut my hair. The girls haven't had the same rules. That's not fair. F, they still have a few years to grow their hair. It doesn't matter. Me, E is graduating next year. That is 1 year to grow their hair out and be an unnatural color. Literally impossible. It's not fair for you to say that I can't cut or dye my hair, but they can. F, it's just hair. It doesn't matter. Me, so if I cut and dye my hair right now you wouldn't care? F, you can't. You're not allowed to until you get pictures done. Me, angry now, that's crap. You can't say I can't do something, and then you turn around let my siblings, who are younger, still in school and literally let them do whatever. I'm cutting it and dyeing it. If you want pictures I'll do them with my dyed hair. I then walked to my room and just started typing this story. I don't know what to think. On one hand, I'm upset that my parents are being absolute hypocrites and not holding my siblings to the same standard. On the other hand, I feel bad because I guess I understand that since I just got my regalia, they want me to look traditional. I need help. What do you guys think?